Having bought Whole Foods, Amazon is not expected to stop there. Speculation is now swirling around Ocado as a potential target. Could this happen? Malcolm Pinkerton joins us now from Kantar Retail. Malcolm, welcome. Onto Ocado in just a minute, but I want to talk first of all about Amazon buying Whole Foods. What's the reasoning behind this? Because my understanding is this is the first time they've actually gone into bricks and mortar as a purchase for the company.
Yes, it is the first time, and it's quite a logical move when you consider that grocery is one of their big bets. For them to really hit their targets, to really hit their growth targets, it's fashion and grocery. And what they've realised very quickly is that to really succeed, to make it viable, scalable and operationally efficient, they need that physical footprint, but they need it with a retailer that fits with their business model and fits with their customer base. And when you look at Amazon Fresh, customer base versus the Whole Foods customer base, there's a huge amount of similarities and a huge amount of overlap they can really look to exploit. So it's a great fit for the business, and it's a great fit for what they want to do in growing their grocery proposition.
And do you think this is something they are going to look at in other countries around the world? I mean, could they be targeting the UK here for a potential sort of similar sort of purchase?
Well, when you look at Whole Foods, they have 9 stores here in the UK, predominantly in London, one in Glasgow, one in Cheltenham, so they're predominantly in London. But when you overlay that again with their Amazon Fresh customer and the more affluent artisan Whole Foods shopper, that again does fit very well with that customer base of Whole Foods and with Amazon Fresh. So it's certainly going to act as a springboard for them to accelerate the growth of that, and that's also going to be looking at other key markets for them in Europe, particularly Germany, where Amazon Fresh launched in Berlin. So we can particularly see them starting to roll out Amazon Fresh and Amazon Whole Foods markets as well. Would not be too far-fetched to see.
Now, you mentioned Europe. Let's bring Ocado into the discussion here, and this possible bid for Ocado, possibly by Amazon. But before we get onto that, Ocado itself is beginning to expand its footprint, and it's now, I believe, done this deal with an as yet unnamed retailer in Europe to expand its logistics capabilities outside the UK. First of all, what is Ocado doing at the moment? Because there's a number of things working for Ocado here.
I think what Ocado again has realised is that they're moving more and more away from just being a true retailer to being a tech company and a tech platform, and they're leveraging those digital assets and those tech assets either from a technology point of view or from a fulfillment and logistics point of view, and that's the real core strength of that business. And when they open that up and open source it to the likes of Morrison's and to the likes of this international player, which has been talked about for a long time, very secretive who they are, but within Europe there's only a few key players who it might actually be, so we can actually see that is how that business model is going to start to evolve, not just as a retailer in their own right, but acting as a platform for others to leverage their assets. And that's very similar to the Amazon model in itself, so there's some good synergies there.
You mentioned about this move from logistics company and grocery company into tech for Ocado. My understanding is there's an activist investor that's bought into Ocado that just wants to exactly do this very thing to try and push them into that area. Is there an advantage in becoming a tech company rather than just a company that's known for grocery deliveries?
Well, certainly your margins will be better if you can leverage those assets. Financially, your margins will be far better. But Ocado has other very good, strong assets as well. It has an incredibly good customer service. It has incredibly good, loyal customers who are buying into their private label. So they are a grocer in their own right. They do have a strong private label. But that tech is only one of their core assets, but it's a very big strength of the business. Should they give up their grocery? No. Should they focus on leveraging those assets to allow others who are having to build it in-house to leverage their core assets to grow their business quickly? Absolutely. It's a core strength of the business.
Who do you see as the potential targets then for this tie-up for Ocado in Europe? I mean, you mentioned there was a few names out there. Who are we talking about possibly that could be using Ocado on this deal?
Well, again, there's lots of names being thrown into the hat, but when you start looking at some of the big players and what they're already doing with their business, such as Carrefour and Auchan, they're very wedded to their drive model. They're rolling out their own proprietary models, so it's unlikely to be some of the big players. It's more likely to be a small local player who is yet to really leverage online. And look at the ones who haven't yet gone full on online would be the more likely ones to be top of the list.
Yeah. Okay. Let's come back to the beginning of the interview and bring in Amazon now into this particular picture with Ocado. Going into the tech arena directly for Ocado, that presumably puts it then head on into the headlights of Amazon. Do you see some sort of deal being built up between Amazon and Ocado, possibly a full buyout? I don't know what the ultimate target would be. Or do you see Amazon just basically steamrolling Ocado out of business?
I think it's an interesting one, and it's one that's been rumoured for quite some time, since Amazon Fresh launched here in 2015. It was tied up with Ocado, so they're now going to buy Ocado. It makes perfect sense for their logistics and to really ramp up their capabilities there. Amazon have a formidable fulfillment, formidable logistics capabilities, and they don't yet have the capabilities to do fresh food or food effectively. They're relying on third parties. So from that point of view, it's a completely logical move. There are big gaps in Ocado's coverage, which Morrison's found out. So is it an ideal tie-up? Yes. Does it make sense logically and in theory? Yes. Will it happen? I think there are other areas for Amazon to be focusing on, and Amazon, I think, can go it alone nowadays, particularly they've got Whole Foods.
Yeah, okay, interesting. We'll see what happens. Malcolm, in the meantime, thanks indeed for joining us. Malcolm Pinkerton is from Kantar Retail, taking a look at what's happening in the digital retail space.